What if the moment she finally realized your worth was the exact moment you no longer needed her to? You see, heartbreak doesn't always end with closure. Sometimes it ends in silence, not because you had nothing to say, but because you outgrew the need to be heard. She expected you to wait, to chase, to stay emotionally tied to the version of you that begged for understanding. But instead, you did the one thing that no one ever expects in a world addicted to reaction. You went quiet. Not bitter. Just different. Detached, free in that silence. It isn't emptiness, it's evolution. It's what makes her break. Not because you hurt her, but because she finally sees the version of you that no longer revolves around her. This is not a story of revenge. This is the moment when emotional maturity turns heartbreak into clarity. When you move on, not with noise, but with grace. And that grace, it haunts her. If you've ever let go silently and found peace on the other side, hit like, subscribe, and comment below. I left quietly because I healed loudly. Let's begin. Number 1. The power he never expected your silence. Right now, she expects a reaction, a late-night message, an emotional outburst, some sign that she still holds emotional gravity over you, but you offer none of it. Instead, you remain silent, not as an act of pride, but as a declaration of peace, and that's the moment everything begins to shift. You see, silence isn't avoidance. It's intentional. It's the conscious refusal to perform for someone who once turned your vulnerability into a stage. When she left, she anticipated the usual script: desperation, confusion, the clinging need to be heard. But this time, you gave her something she didn't anticipate: stillness. In Stoic philosophy, this is power, not the loud kind, but the calm, controlled, immovable kind, because you've learned that the loudest message you can send is no message at all. You're no longer playing the role of the emotionally reactive man. You've stepped into the role of the centered one, the man who no longer chases what walked away. Right now, the pain may still be there, but it's not in control. You've stopped turning heartbreak into performance art. Instead, you've turned it into momentum she expects to hear from you, so she can reaffirm her hold. But all she hears is silence. And in that silence, she finds something deeply unsettling: self-reflection. Here's the shift. Your silence becomes her mirror. It makes her question why you're not breaking. It forces her to confront the possibility that you've already begun to move on. Not with anger, not with revenge, but with purpose. Action step. Withdraw your energy, not out of spite, but out of strategy. Go silent, not to provoke, but to preserve. Let her wonder, let her spiral, let her sit in the emptiness she created. And while she wrestles with that, you grow, you build, you rise. Because the strongest man isn't the one who wins her back, it's the one who no longer needs to. Your silence isn't emptiness, it's your edge, if you've ever found clarity in the quiet. Write this below: she expected my pain, she got my silence instead. Number 2. The calm that made you untouchable. You've been hurt. You've been abandoned, misunderstood, maybe even replaced, and everything in your nervous system is screaming for release, for a response. A final message, an angry text, a moment of emotional exposure that says, I cared, but instead, you choose something rarer, something more powerful. You choose calm not because it's easy, but because it's yours. In the chaos of a breakup, most men lose their center. They become unpredictable. emotional, desperate to prove they mattered. But a Stoic man understands the one who stays calm holds the advantage. Why? Because control over your emotions is control over your value. And when you stop giving away your reactions, you stop giving away your power. Right now, she might be watching, not openly, but quietly, through silence, through absence, through the gap you used to fill. And what she sees now isn't the man begging for closure. It's the man who's not even asking the question anymore. That stillness. It's what shakes her most. Seneca wrote, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." Your emotional pain isn't your weakness. It's the test you rise through. And this moment right now is the battlefield. Here's what you do. You feel everything, but show nothing. You don't bottle it up. You channel it. Into the gym. Into your craft. Into your purpose. Your emotional chaos becomes your construction material while she expects you to collapse. You're out there building, and that changes everything. You're no longer the man who reacts. You're the man who reflects. While she plays emotional chess trying to see if you'll break, she realizes you're not even playing the game anymore. You've exited the board, and now you're focused on your kingdom. Psychologically, this unnerves her. Because people expect closure, they expect reaction. They expect you to dance in the tension they created. But when you don't, they're forced to sit with their own decisions. And in that space, they often see the truth they tried to avoid. The man who controls his emotional temperature becomes impossible to manipulate. If you've ever mastered your silence, not to hide, but to heal, say this now. My calm wasn't weakness. It was my evolution. Number 3. You were the prize. She just forgot. There's a moment in every heartbreak when you realize the truth. She didn't leave because you lacked value. She left because she stopped seeing it. Not because it wasn't there, but because you placed her so high. You became small in your own eyes. And when a woman feels idolized, she stops feeling intrigued. You gave. You showed up. You were available, maybe too available, and slowly the emotional gravity began to shift. She stopped chasing because she never had to. You were always there, always waiting, and in her mind, that predictability became invisibility. But now, everything's changed. You've reclaimed the throne she once occupied in your life. You've stopped begging for attention and started building direction. You've remembered what Stoicism always taught. He who is brave is free. And bravery in this case is walking away from anything that doesn't recognize your worth, even if your heart still lingers. This is where your transformation begins. You don't compete for affection anymore. You don't prove your love through pursuit. Instead, you realize that love given to the wrong person isn't noble, it's wasteful. You're not a beggar at the door of someone who forgot your value. You are the man who chooses who gets access to his energy. She expected you to fight for her. What she didn't expect was your silence, your self-respect, your decision to stop convincing someone to care. And when you stopped showing up to the stage, she built for your suffering, she noticed, because the man who removes his attention becomes unforgettable. The action is simple but sacred. Remove her from the pedestal, not with anger, but with clarity. Stop checking her social media. Stop hoping for a message. Redirect that energy into your craft, your body, your future. And in that focus, you become magnetic, not for her approval, but for your own destiny. Psychologically, this reversal creates tension. She expected you to orbit her, But now she feels the absence of your gravity, and the mind always replays what no longer plays back. You're no longer the one who pleads. You're the one who rises quietly, powerfully. If you've ever chosen self-respect over validation, declare it now. I stopped proving my value because I finally saw it myself. Number 4. You faced the mirror, not the memory. Pain doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers through sleepless nights, sudden regrets, or moments when you replay every word she said before walking away. And it's easy to point outward, to blame her silence, her coldness, her shift. But the Stoic path begins not with blame, but with the mirror. Because deep down you know it wasn't just her actions, it was your allowance. You tolerated red flags because you didn't want to lose her. You explained away disrespect because you feared being alone. You accepted less than you deserved because somewhere you questioned if you truly deserved more. And that honesty, it stings, but it's where freedom begins. Marcus Aurelius taught, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. And to become one, you first have to admit you participated in your own pain, not because you were weak, but because you were human. And now you're done running from that truth. This is the emotional rebirth, the moment you stop chasing closure and start chasing clarity. You sit with the discomfort. You look at the version of yourself who abandoned his boundaries just to be held. And instead of judging him, you rebuild him. Stronger, sharper, clearer. You realize that self-respect isn't built on rejection, it's built on responsibility. So here's your action. Don't numb it. Don't distract it. Channel it. Wake up earlier. Train harder. Learn more. Every ounce of pain you feel becomes fuel. Not for revenge, not for validation, but for evolution. Let her memory be the fire. But you decide what it burns, your future or your excuses psychologically. This shift is everything, because once you take accountability, no one can take power from you again. You're no longer the man who tolerates pain. You're the man who transforms it. And that version of you, he's unstoppable, because he doesn't just walk away, he walks forward. If you've ever faced your reflection and chose growth over guilt, speak it now. I stopped blaming her and started building me. Number 5. The pain didn't break you. It built you. Right now, the ache might still be there. That hollow feeling in your chest. The heaviness that follows you in quiet moments. The flashbacks that hit you when you least expect them. And yes, she may have walked away, but the pain stayed. It lingered like a ghost. But what you do with that pain, that's the turning point. Most men try to escape it. They bury it in distractions. New women, fast pleasures, endless scrolling. But the Stoic man chooses something radical. He lets the pain forge him. Because pain, when embraced with purpose, becomes power. Seneca once said, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body and heartbreak." It's emotional labor. Every tear, every sleepless night, every quiet breakdown. It's your gym, and what you build there isn't muscle, it's mental steel. You see, pain is not the enemy. Attachment is. The belief that you needed her to feel whole. That love from her was the oxygen you breathed. But now you're learning the oxygen was always within. You just forgot how to breathe without her. This is where your shift begins. You start using that pain as fuel. You don't run from it. You repurpose it. Into training, into discipline, into purpose. Each rep in the gym becomes a message. to your past self. We don't stay broken. Each new skill learned, each boundary enforced, each day you show up with consistency. You etch a new version of yourself into existence. And while she might remember the old you, the soft, uncertain, reactive you, she'll never meet this man again. Because this version of you wasn't born from comfort. He was carved out of chaos. Psychologically, this does more than heal. It reprograms. It turns your nervous system from anxious to anchored, from dependent to decisive. You stop waiting for apologies. You stop hoping for texts. You stop needing closure because you already found it within the fire that didn't consume you, but refined you. So next time the pain creeps back in, let it remind you, this was the cost of becoming. If you've ever turned heartbreak into your greatest fuel, write this now: my pain didn't destroy me, it defined me. Number 6. You let go and took your power back. It starts with questions. Who is she with now? Is she happier? Did she ever really care? These thoughts don't just visit, they take up residence. They drain your energy, hijack your focus, and tether you to a version of the past you can't rewrite. That's not heartbreak anymore. That's emotional slavery. But the day you let go, not pretend, not perform, but truly release, is the day everything changes. Most men confuse letting go with giving up. They think silence is weakness, that walking away means they lost. But to the Stoic man, letting go is the highest form of strength, because it's not a reaction, it's a reclamation. You stop tracking her moves. You stop decoding her posts. You stop checking who she's with, what she's doing, and if she still remembers your name. And in doing so, you break the last string she had on your mind. That's not coldness, that's clarity. Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. And when every thought revolves around someone who's no longer invested in your life, you've outsourced your peace." Letting go is how you bring it back home. So here's what you do. You redirect it. Every time you feel the urge to look back, you look inward. Every time your mind wanders to her, you bring it back to your mission. You don't suppress your emotions. You transform them into movement, into your body, into your craft, into your vision. Her absence becomes the silence where you finally hear your own voice again. Psychologically, this rewires you. You shift from reactive to intentional. You become the man who doesn't need closure to move forward, who doesn't need validation to feel whole. And that shift, that's what makes you truly dangerous, not to her, but to your old patterns. Because the man who lets go is the man who becomes untouchable. She may have walked out of your life, but you walked into your power. If you've ever reclaimed your peace by releasing the past comment, this: "Now I stopped needing closure because I chose clarity." Number 7. Focus is the weapon that turns pain into strength. The moment she leaves, the noise starts, the echoes of everything unsaid, every what if that seems to reverberate through your mind. The questions keep coming. How could she move on so easily? Was it something I missed? Could I have done more? And every time your mind spirals, you lose sight of your own path. But here's where you break the cycle. Focus. You have two choices. You can drown in the noise of your thoughts, feeding the endless cycle of regret, or you can choose clarity. The power of focus is the ability to not be consumed by external noise, but to direct your energy where it counts. And right now, it counts in your growth. It counts in your healing. It counts in becoming the man who is unshakable, no matter the external circumstances. Epictetus, the great Stoic, taught us that the greater the difficulty, the more glory in surmounting it. And right now, you have a difficulty to overcome the distraction of a past that no longer serves you. The question isn't whether or not the pain will fade. The question is, will you allow that pain to determine your next move, or will you use it as the fuel for your rise? Every time you feel the pull of the past, make it a trigger for your present. Every time you're tempted to scroll through her social media, use that moment to hit the gym. Every time her name crosses your mind, turn it into a reason to sharpen your skills, to take a step toward your future. Focus is your greatest tool for turning weakness into strength. Because here's the truth: when you focus, you attract. And when you focus on your own growth, you become a magnet for everything that aligns with your vision. The greatest strength lies in not letting the past dictate your future. When you stop looking backward, you'll find you have a much clearer view of where you're going. Psychologically, this move makes you unapproachable. When you focus on building, you don't just become stronger, you become untouchable. The past, it's no longer your anchor. Your focus is your sail, and it's taking you forward fast. If you've ever used focus to shift from pain to power, comment below. My focus is my power. Nothing and no one can break it. Number 8. Indifference is the strongest form of revenge. There's a twisted kind of satisfaction some people expect when they hurt you, especially when they see you struggling. They want to know that their actions have caused pain. They want to see you fight for them, to plead for their love, to prove that they still matter to you. And most men, caught in the chaos of rejection, oblige. They react, they beg, they explain. But you don't. Indifference is your revenge, not out of malice, but out of strength. When you stop reacting to their games, their manipulations, their attempts to pull you back into their world, it sends a message they can't ignore. The message isn't loud, it's not vengeful, it's quiet, it's powerful. The Stoic response: you no longer allow their actions to dictate your peace. As Marcus Aurelius wisely stated, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. The person who hurt you expects to control your emotions through guilt, regret, or anger. And when you don't give them that control, you win. Because you're not playing the game they've set for you anymore. Indifference doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop needing their validation to feel complete. You no longer need them to affirm your worth. You stand in the power of your own self-respect. You are unmoved by their absence and their presence. And in that stillness, you regain the one thing that truly matters: control over your own energy. This isn't weakness. This isn't about letting go out of fear. It's about choosing to be unshaken. When you stop reacting to her absence, you stop giving her the power she once held. Your peace is now a fortress, and it can't be penetrated by anyone who doesn't recognize it. Psychologically, this level of detachment is what makes you unapproachable. People, especially those who have hurt you, expect to see vulnerability, to see you crumble. But instead, you stand firm, unbothered, knowing that the strongest response you can give is no response at all. If you've ever chosen indifference as your most powerful form of revenge, write this below: I don't need closure. I create my own peace. Number 9. The new you doesn't go back to what broke him. It's a strange feeling when they reach out again after weeks, months, maybe even longer. You've done the work. You've healed. You've transformed. you've found a sense of peace and purpose that no longer revolves around their approval. But there it is, the message, the attempt to reconnect. And for a moment you feel the pull, the temptation to fall back into old habits, to answer, to explain, to relive the past. But here's where you make the crucial choice. You don't go back. The man who's come through pain, who's built his life back with his own hands, doesn't return to the place where he lost himself. Not out of anger, not out of vengeance, but out of self-respect. The version of you that was once desperate for answers, for closure, for her validation. He's gone. Epictetus reminds us, we are disturbed not by what happens to us, but by our thoughts about what happens. And when she reaches out, that's exactly it. A test of how far you've come. Will you revert to your old patterns of begging for attention? Or will you show her that the man she once knew is no longer the man who answers her call? The new you doesn't need to explain his growth. He doesn't need to prove how far he's come. He simply shows it through action, through focus, through the quiet, steady consistency of a life that no longer revolves around her presence. And when you resist the temptation to respond, to re-engage, you reclaim your boundaries. You show her that you are not a reflection of her actions. You are the result of your own decisions, your own hard work. The new you is a man who refuses to lose himself again, not because of pride, but because of progress. Psychologically, this move is what makes you unbreakable. It's the moment when you realize that the only way forward is not to look back. You've built a new life, one where you are the center, and nothing, and no one can pull you back into the chaos of your past. If you've ever chosen self-respect over reconnection, write this below: the man I am now doesn't go back to what broke me. Number 10. Become the storm she never saw coming. You've been through it, the heartache, the uncertainty, the feeling of being discarded. She left, and the emotional weight didn't just hurt, it changed you. But what most people don't realize is that this transformation isn't just about healing. It's about power. You didn't just get through the pain, you harnessed it. The storm that once felt like destruction becomes the force that propels you forward. You're not the same man who begged for her attention or sought her approval. You've used the wreckage of your emotions to build something stronger, more resilient, and more untouchable. And now, as you rise, you become the storm, unpredictable, unstoppable, and untamable. Napoleon Hill said, "What the mind of man can conceive and believe it can achieve." You've already conceived a new version of yourself. You've already believed in your own transformation, and now you're living it. This isn't just about moving on. It's about becoming something so strong that nothing can deter you from your path. And when she looks back, when she realizes that you've moved on, not in the sense of replacing her, but in the sense of evolving beyond the need for anyone's validation, that's when she feels the real loss. Not because you've changed, but because you've outgrown the person she thought she knew. This is the power of Stoic resilience. It's not about returning to a version of yourself that fits her expectations. It's about stepping into a version that can't be shaken, because you've learned to thrive in your own strength. You didn't just survive the breakup. You became the very thing that no one, including her, can ignore. The storm you once feared, it's the wind that carries you forward now. You've found your purpose, your strength, and your center. The old you is gone. And what's left isn't just a survivor. It's a force of nature. If you've ever let the pain fuel your transformation into something unshakable, drop this below. I didn't survive the storm, I became it. She thought you'd be there. Thought silence meant weakness. But now she's the one staring at the door you've already walked through, alone with her memories, while you've already rebuilt your future. Because real power doesn't come from making someone miss you. It comes from no longer needing them to. You didn't disappear to punish her. You disappeared to find yourself. And in doing so, you became unforgettable. She broke down when your silence no longer served her ego. But by then, you had already moved forward with calm eyes, a full heart, and no need to explain. If you've ever been the one who let go in silence and came back stronger, like this video, subscribe and comment below. I choose peace over closure. And remember, the ones who rise in silence are the ones they never forget.